Hey there, Crystal here. Welcome to my ultimate guide for all things Final Warning. I'll be teaching you a bit about how the gun works, the best ways to use it, and some of the ways people can counter you. Along the way, I'll be showing off some of my favorite builds from the community and the insane things you can do with this gun. So sit back, grab a snack, and let's jump on in. When most people think of Final Warning, they probably think of the Smart Pistol from Titanfall. Final Warning works pretty much in the same way. Lock onto a target, get the red box, release the trigger and kill. Sounds easy enough, right? Well, it can actually be pretty hard to get the lock on down. Half of learning the gun is learning how to use it. The other half is learning the best ways to position yourself. Final Warning is built like a slow shooting fusion rifle that you can let go of early. Holding down the trigger is essentially loading bullets into the chamber. Releasing the trigger fires however many bullets you loaded into it. The easiest comparison I have for this is using a bow or a fusion rifle since you already know how to pre-charge and weapon cancel. Final Warning is a gun that heavily relies on weapon canceling and pre-charging for it to function, so it's vital that you have these committed to your memory. To start, I'd like to take a look at a couple of the perks that the gun has so you can understand how the gun functions. The first perk is called All at Once. All at Once activates when holding down the trigger. You can check the amount of charge you're building from the small bar located above your abilities. When All at Once is fully charged, the gun will begin to shoot its rally. You can either choose to fully wait for the bar to fill after locking onto a target with the red box to automatically release the volley, or you can release the volley once you have the lock on. The gun is only going to release however much of the charge you load into it. That being said, weapon canceling is very important to stopping your charge. To weapon cancel, you can either switch guns, sprint, pull out your ghost, or melee. The next perk the gun has is its exotic trait, Pick Your Poison. Pick Your Poison says the following. Hipfire projectiles will apply more body shot damage, and aiming down sights provides increased velocity and extra critical hit damage to marked targets. Pick Your Poison is going to impact the different times to kill, TTKs as we call them. The gun has 3 different firing modes, each with different TTKs. Aiming down sights and removing the red box entirely will give you the fastest TTK possible at a 0.27 seconds for hitting all headshots. Typically, when using the gun, you will end up using the hipfire mode. To use this mode, simply lock onto the target and release your volley while tapping your trigger at the same time. Typically, this mode will give you around a 0.93 seconds time to kill. A good habit to build is to get the lock on and immediately tap fire. The gun will fire automatically while doing this too. Normally, getting the lock on and letting go wouldn't result in a kill, but if you tap fire, it'll be enough. The last TTK is if you were to use the gun as a normal rapid sidearm, which you will almost never use. But in the off chance you were going to use it and you somehow managed to hit all heads with the insane amount of kick that you have, it would be around a 0.67 TTK. The 3 modes of firing will highly impact your gameplay. Maybe you have a short range fight and you can't get the lock on. That's when you'll want to go for the ADS TTK. A majority of the time, you will end up going with the easiest option, which is the hip fire option, but I figured I'd show off all 3 in the off chance you need it. A lot of the time, you will have to play to the effective range of the gun. When using the ADS function, you will have a limited range to be able to hit heads, but if you were to go for a red box lock-on, you have a range of roughly 25 meters. Keep in mind, lock-ons will also impact your TTK since it'll take around a 0.2 to 0.25 seconds to lock onto a target and it'll linger for about 2 seconds. If you factor in the TTKs required for the lock-on and hipfire, you're looking at roughly a 1.18 minimum TTK, and if you're factoring in for the TTK for lock-on and aim down sights, you're looking at roughly a 0.52 TTK. Since the lock-on ends up lingering around, you can actually use the red box to track your targets around corners if they get outside of your range, or use this to reposition. The last perk of the gun is the exotic catalyst. With the catalyst equipped, hits against marked targets will deal increased damage and have a chance to refund ammo to the magazine. This can be super helpful in scenarios with 2 guardians as you are able to safely track to both, but a majority of the time you will have a reloader built into your kit, so you always have Final Warning fully loaded to swap into. Since you now have an understanding of how the gun works, I'd like to show off a couple of clips and go over some general use. Welcome to the combat section. There are a few things here that I would like to delve into. When entering combat with an enemy, you're going to want to double check your radar and try to make sure you lock on to a maximum of 2 players per engagement. Final Warning's Catalyst will do a heavy amount of lifting, but it will be a slower TTK since the bullets are tracking onto 2 targets at once. Typically, you want to engage in a 1v1 style format. When you initiate a fight, you will want to make sure that you are as far out of sight with the enemy as possible and you're able to reposition as safely as possible. Utilize as much cover as possible since Final Warning will be able to shoot around boxes and walls as long as it has the required amount of space. The bullets will shoot straight out first before curving, so you need to make sure to aim a bit outside of where you are shooting. In most engagements, you will be able to pre-charge and apply Unravel to a target so they spawn a Tangle on death. Builds that are Tangle reliant, for example, Threadling Spam or Beyblades will work great if you're able to generate Tangles on kill. Since this gun excels at close range combat, I'd like to take a look at the various different weapon pairings, and there's no better way to do that than by watching a master use it in practice. Deign started as the first Final Warning user to popularize the gun's use in Crucible, and show that while the gun seems like it's a meme, it can actually be deadly in the right hands. In this clip, you'll see him swapping between a pulse rifle and Final Warning to be able to play at close and far range. Who would have thought that a gun that everyone memed on would actually be a powerhouse in the right hands? And speaking of powerhouse, did I mention that Final Warning is also amazing for melting supers? No? Well, I think you might want to take a look again. In terms of weapon pairings though, it really depends on the level of aggression you plan to play at. Since I am a Hunter and Titan main, I am typically up close, so I chose to pair mine with a glaive or a sniper depending on the map. You can pair the gun with whatever range you are trying to cover, but most players tend to go with a hand cannon, scout, or a pulse rifle. I have seen a few instances of players using a shotgun or a fusion rifle, but these are pretty rare and often used by the more skilled players. If you are just starting off with the gun, I would recommend pairing it with the Grey Spider Bite sidearm. This will be the best way for you to learn the range of the gun, prioritize positioning, and teach you to lean on the gun. I was recommended this when I took up learning it from Solace and Aloe, and it helped me immensely. I'd suggest running it until you have around 5k kills on the gun so you can get a good understanding of it before swapping off to a longer range weapon. Now that we got gun pairings out of the way, I'd like to take a look at some of the ways that people can counter you. If you come across an Invis Hunter, you'll have a hard time initiating tracking. Invis makes it to where you are unable to lock on, but if you lock on before they go Invis, your red box will still be applied and you can shoot your volley as normal. Alternatively, if you are versing more knowledgeable players, they will actively play outside of Final Warning's range and know when to utilize walls and cover. Do not be afraid to reposition if you feel like you're going to be out in the open for a kill. Weave Walk is a lot like Invis Hunters, except they're like 10 times worse. Not only can you not initiate a lock-on while in Weave Walk, they can also willingly stay in Weave Walk for long periods of time. Unless you think a Weave Walk Warlock is going to be a danger, I would honestly recommend repositioning and moving on to another target. The last real counter is melee range. Things like glaives, shotguns, and even melees will be able to counter you unless you aim down sights. It can be hard to hit, so try to avoid putting yourself in close range fights unless you have ways to escape or counter. This is something useful that you'll need to know in case you're ever in a mirror match against another Final Warning player. When another Final Warning player tracks onto you, you get a debuff called Hunted. You can use this to track whether or not the other player has lock-on on you, so you can really use it to your advantage in fights or 1v1s. Even though this gun has a lot of different ways to counter it, the gun can still be a menace in the right hands. That's why I highly encourage you to build your own playstyle, and if you can't think of one, then I think you might appreciate the next section, dedicated to some of the craziest builds I've seen. Congrats, you finally made it to the best part of the video, where I get to show you all of the amazing playstyles that people have come up with. Since Final Warning is not a gun that can be defined by a playstyle, it really becomes dependent on how aggressive of a player you are and your skill level. There are a few builds that I highly recommend to beginners before they attempt to get into some of the cooler builds showcased here, and I will include some difficulty levels over the builds I show you, along with dim links for all of them in the description. Each of the builds in the next section will start out with the beginner level build. This is usually a build that anyone can pick up to learn the gun. Solar Warlock utilizes a mix of air movement and positioning. You can consume your grenade to activate heat rises to allow yourself to float in the air for longer periods of time. Solar Warlock offers a couple different healing options, from consuming your grenade to having Rifts or Phoenix Dive. This build is typically the one most players will go for starting off, since it's the easiest to learn and use. Strand Titan utilizes a mix of air movement with a fast and aggressive playstyle. It has a very similar playstyle loop to Solar Warlock, but Lion Rampants will allow you to gain increased hipfire accuracy and extra aerial movement. Since you are using Strand, you'll be able to have reliable ways to escape with grapple and typically ways to suspend with your barricade. Depending on the build, some Strand Titans will utilize Banner of War for survivability. Strand Hunter is easily the hardest to learn out of the 3 beginner builds due to the amount of positioning you will have to utilize. You can either run this with Suspending Dive or Wailing Maelstrom, also known as Beyblades. This build will start off with 2 grapples, so you're able to have a reliable escape or a way to initiate fights. Keep in mind that with this build, you should be utilizing the pre-charge to reliably make tangles as a movement tool or to create Beyblades. I personally prefer to pair this with Radiant Dance Machines for the extra dodges, and I prefer to run the Reload Dodge to make sure Final Warning has priority, along with Orb Generation mods to gain Woven Mail on Orb Pickup. Once you learn how to use the gun, you can mess around with some of your own builds or choose from one of the various options here. So, without further yapping, enjoy the build showcase.
place. This is only the beginning. This is only the beginning. Look at them fall! Don't be, Captain. You have advanced. Own advantage is yours. One after another. Double down. 3 opponents down. You are all that's left. This is your fight to win. 1 minute left. Just the 2 of you now. Fight! 2 for 1. Zone B lost. Enemy claimed Zone B. Enemy has advantage. Double tap. 2 for 1. 2 for 1.
Welcome back! I hope you learned a little bit about the various playstyles and you got a taste of all the fun things you can do with the gun. I highly encourage you to test out your own builds and try all of the various exotic armors that classes have. With new exotic armors being released and buffed, it allows for a lot of different builds, so please, expend your creativity. The possibilities with this gun are endless. If you made it this far in the video, I would like to thank you for hanging around. This is my first time really going in depth with a video guide like this, and the first time I've ever done a build showcase that got so much of the community involved. I really hope that you fall in love with the gun as much as I did, and that this gives you a bit of insight into how the gun works and how much fun you can have with it. If you're interested in learning more about the gun, or feel like trying it out for yourself, then consider joining the Final Warning Discord server linked below. There are plenty of folks in there with an understanding of the gun that are more than happy to help you get started. I would also like to thank all of the help I had in this video. I really couldn't have done it without you guys. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.